Sorry, I was saying, did you just give me a thumbs up there? This is the pro show.
Yes.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the interruptee.
Well, you said it was the pro show.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Seal Podcast, episode number 264 for March the 14th. March the 14th, isn't that that's not a special day,
It's
is it?
Pi Day, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Yeah, 314.
Einstein's birthday, apparently, as well. I don't know if that's true.
And then what's tomorrow? Tomorrow is
Be
the
the
Ides of
15th,
March.
I guess.
Usually comes the Ides of March tomorrow. Yeah, but it's the Ides of March, isn't it, tomorrow?
I don't know. It's the 15th, as far as I know.
Oh, yeah, that's... And anyway, I'm joined on my left by Neil.
Hello.
And on my right by not Dave, special guest Paul.
Hi.
How you doing, Paul?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yep, I'm good, thanks.
Nice to finally put a face to the voice to the name.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm usually maybe a little bit camera shy, but I guess you kind of got to do it if you want to come on the show. You don't really do it without the cameras, do you? So it's got to be done.
Yeah, I think I pushed back on the cameras a little bit at the start, didn't I?
I don't know. Like, why do we you push back on everything at the beginning. You just always take some persuading.
Well, yeah.
Let's talk about Hunt Showdown.
Yeah, we probably should. Yeah, so Paul's joined us. Dave's not here. He's gone off to, is he gone to comedy or something?
Comedy night. Catherine Ryan.
Catherine Ryan. Oh, yeah, I should know that because that's. No, but bizarrely, Catherine Ryan is my sister. Is my wife's cousin. So she's my cousin-in-law.
What, the actual Catherine Ryan that Dave's gone to see is?
No, but the Catherine Ryan.
Another Catherine Ryan.
But the other Catherine Ryan, that is my cousin-in-law. She has a theatre show that she goes around the country. So when Dave said, "Oh, I'm going to see Catherine Ryan," it's like, well, there's a small possibility it could be the same one. But yeah. So anyway, so Paul joins us. So Paul's thank you, Paul. He stepped in to take Dave's place. You've come from. We know you, long-time listener, I guess, Paul, or listener. I don't know how.
Contributor.
Why don't you give us a little bit of background, Paul?
Yeah, I think I've been listening pretty much since episode 1. I remember Fraser from another podcast years ago. Was it the Monkey Punchers or something? I can't remember. What was the podcast you was?
Game Punchers, yeah.
Game Punchers, that's it. I couldn't remember. They've all got crazy names, right? As seals, monkeys, who knows whatever next. So, but yeah, I've been listening to the show since pretty much day 1. It's a great show. I generally tend to prefer to listen to like the English podcasts. Obviously, there's a bit more of an affinity there with it. So yeah, I prefer that kind of thing. The American ones can get a little bit shouty sometimes. I find it.
Definitely do that on air as well.
Yeah, it does happen sometimes, but it's usually in good humor. And I've been doing a bit of a podcast myself as well recently, which is the Year of Shame podcast, which is on season 13, which you guys have given us a shout out about, which has been a really good experience. Actually, I've really been enjoying the world of podcasting.
Is that your first one? Is it?
That's the very, 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 very first podcast I'd ever done in the past. Yeah. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. The good thing though with the way that we do it, obviously we record it via Discord, but we don't do it live. So all these ums and ahs that I keep probably dropping, it's going to be like 10 million of them. I don't know if you're going to chop all them out in the final edit.
Definitely not.
That's never going to happen.
No. Well, I spent literally, it was my turn to edit the last show, and I spent literally a day and a half editing out ums and ahs and different things. I mean, obviously, I was getting used to using Audacity as well. I watched a few YouTubes, which brought me up to speed pretty quickly. But I actually really enjoyed it. It's a good sense of achievement after you've edited them shows. And the amount of
if you put a bit of work in, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, I must admit, if it was a weekly show that we did, I'd find that daunting to edit that every single week.
Right.
But what I found from you guys, you do your show live, you don't get a lot of ums and ahs, but obviously you've done 263 previous shows. So it really, really, obviously you guys are technically pros at it.
No, you just have to get extremely drunk.
Well, yeah. I must admit.
Yeah, I guess it's funny because I was thinking about it today, and my goal, I think I've said this before, but my goal when we started this was to make it as easy as possible, as streamlined as possible, because I know from doing the previous podcast and doing other podcasts, the Game Punchers and whatever I was doing before that as well, like it's a lot of effort doing something regularly. Doing it every week is a lot of effort. And then if you multiply that out on top of your 2 hours, 3 hours of recording it, you start putting on another hour for editing. Yeah, you
Getting
just don't
everyone's
need that.
audio from each person and then lining it all up all yourself.
Yeah, we used to do it that way. No,
now we've got this magician Craig who does everything.
Yeah, the first time we were doing a podcast, I think we were taking, certainly on Game Punchers, and maybe all the way through, it was all 3 separate audios files would come in, and then they would all be pieced together, matched up.
You should do like a clap at the beginning. Everyone does a 3, 2, 1 clap to line up your audio.
But of course the problem is with that, if anybody's audio glitches halfway through, everything gets knocked out, and then you got to repair that. I mean, it really was a ball ache. So, but now tell me, Paul, what's your gaming history then? Going, not your gaming history going back to I had a Spectrum and all that sort of stuff. Although we'll come to that in a minute probably. Listening to podcasts and the sort of community, that's what sort of interests me more than.
Community, well, probably the first gaming podcast I first listened to was the Midlife Gamer podcast,
right?
Which is a great podcast.
See, I've always imagined that the Year of Shame that originated from that, right? It's sort of, to me, if I recall, that's because I used to listen to Midlife Gamer was my introduction to all these guys like the veteran gamers and all that. That's how I ended up.
Yeah, that's how it began for me as well. 2 really good guys. I forget their names, I'm pretty terrible with my memory with that kind of thing. But yeah, 2 really good guys. Always has something interesting to say.
Aaron and Matt. Was it Matt?
That's the last 2 I haven't listened from the beginning, so I don't know if there was other people involved early, but that's the 2 I remember for sure.
Yeah, well, I think they have been doing it since like episode 0 together. I think they used to work together. That's how they got to know each other. Then they used to go out on an evening and chat together about gaming and such like. And that's obviously, I mean, technically this is a chat in the pub, right? Podcast, a lot of these gaming podcasts. So, and it really went on from there. I used to look forward to listening to their show. You get to listen to people's lives as well. You could follow it all the way through. There was a point where Dad had gone through quite a bad time. His house had been burgled. He'd lost his job. All kinds of different things. He was going through a really tough time at one point, and then he got into a new relationship. It's almost like a bit of a soap opera to some degree, because you get to know more and more about their lives. I mean, you put it out on the table for your listeners, really. Yeah, really, really good. And obviously then you join the Midlife Gamer Facebook group and you go from there. But like the other ones, as the Gamers Confessional, and then as the Mature Gamers podcast, there's loads of quality English podcasts out there that have been going for years and years. I mean, I was surprised when I looked at the podcast count on yours, which is 263, and I work, and that's like, I don't know how many years of podcast. That must be like 5 or nearly 6 years. I don't remember.
We're coming up for 6, I guess, aren't we? Because we've definitely missed a few. It must be because we've not. I mean, 5 would be 250, 260. But we've definitely missed some, so it must be coming up for 6 this year.
We haven't missed it. We're not terrible for missing podcasts. We missed the odd one here and there, but
you must have missed quite a few when you work it out.
If you want to know how many we should have done, look at Gary's podcast, because I don't think he ever misses, right?
No.
I think he's on 280, 290. Oh, he's coming up for 300, I think.
Yeah, so that's where we probably should be.
But yeah, it's amazing to think, and it doesn't seem like it's 6 years ago. It seems like you may have started it 2 years ago. It really has flown by, but I guess we've been through a bit of an odd time as well with COVID and such like, where there has been a few lost kind of years in people's lives to some degree.
Yeah,
so time has flown.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Plus, we're at the age where time flies anyway, right? That doesn't help.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, we're not getting any younger. I mean, my candle's starting to flicker as well, so,
Where are you, Paul? Where's home? You sound like you've got a north. To me, like the uneducated, you sound like you're from far away up north somewhere.
Yeah, I'm originally from Leeds, but I live down in the West Midlands now. So, but yeah, it's I moved down here to be with a lady at the time, and then it went from there. Really, fell out with her, met another lady, got married, that kind of thing. So,
right. And what's your so tell us about your gaming history then. Give us the Cole's notes on your
Well, I'm like 53, so I'm like from the 70s, 1971. So really,
it's a great age, Paul. It's a great age.
It is an amazing, it's a fine vintage, and So I've seen it all really. Obviously not the very, very beginning, but from the TV game machines, Space Invaders, Pac-Man, it was all part of, your upbringing. And from there onwards, yeah, obviously I wanted to get a computer. I remember going around to a friend's house and he showed me his ZX Spectrum and I played Jetpack for the first time. Wow. I was absolutely sold from that moment on. It was like a life-defining moment was a ZX Spectrum. I mean, I hold my, I will say that he's brought me a living as Sir Clive Sinclair, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't really be into computers, because computers wasn't really affordable until he released the computer. I mean, bit of a madman, really, when it comes to some of his pricing and some of his ideas. I mean, obviously, the bankrupted him, did some of his ideas, such as the Sinclair C5, the little
That was a
electric
nightmare.
car.
He was a bit ahead of his time, wasn't he? Really?
He was. That's the thing. He was so ahead of his time. But I think a lot of people owe Sir Clive Sinclair a living for sure, because the affordability of that thing and the basic that was built into it. I'm no programmer, etc. I mean, I've only ever played games on it, etc. But that will have brought a lot of people the ability to learn to program.
Yeah. Do you
Did you
think
ever go in the old computer shops and make the computers print the word boobs repeatedly on things like that?
Well, yeah,
that's amateur stuff. You
Yeah, well, that's the rite of passage back in the day. Well, yeah, I'm sure you could have done, but when you were like 7 or 8, boobs was pretty impressive.
That's well, I think. Well, I'm old enough to remember to be doing that on like a calculator, and it wasn't even LCD. It was like the red lines on it. Like it lit up. It wasn't. If I don't know what they are, LEDs or LCDs, whatever they are. It's not LCD. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So I absolutely adore computing. I mean, like I said, I live and breathe computers. Really.
Yeah.
I couldn't go without my computer. I mean, even if I go away on holiday, the first thing I'm going to be packing is probably a Nintendo and a Steam Deck or something like that. Making sure I've got plenty of games downloaded, enough games to probably play for a lifetime. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I mean, I love it.
Go consoles. What consoles you've owned?
Consoles I've owned pretty much everything. I mean, I buy and sell computers and consoles in the past. So I've been through all of them, really. I've had everything: Mega Drive, SNESes, Master System, NESes, Atari Jaguars, Sega Saturns.
Oh, he's going deep now with things like the Jaguar.
Yeah.
Dreamcast. I mean, we had PlayStations when there were the Japanese import-only versions. We used to buy them and resell them. You didn't make a great deal on them. And we used to sell them for like 550 quid.
Yeah.
That's actually we used to sell for the Japanese. I don't know if you remember back in the day, SNES cartridges. I didn't used to import SNES cartridges, but SNES cartridges, the import versions, could be a small fortune. People talk about gaming being expensive. Now, if you were into your import games back then before the internet and you're relying on a shop to provide them games, the markup they're going to put on them games as well, you could be paying over £100 for like a latest import SNES game back in the day, and that will have been a proper 100. I don't know. You have to get some kind of calculator out that kind of brings
probably double
£100
now,
into
isn't it?
today.
Basically.
Yeah, but there again, a lot of stuff for cartridge, so you could part exchange it, trade it in, But some of those old Japanese RPG games will be worth some good money now. If you've kept the boxes and kept them all in good condition, they'll be worth some good money. So, but
I think there was a bit of a boom in all the retro games during COVID, weren't there? I think in prices particularly.
Massive, yeah. People didn't have anything else better to do, kind of thing. And prices went through the roof. Some people have invested in them things like as if it was gold.
Yeah.
Prices did keep going up because, I mean, this is the same thing that happened with house prices as well. They kept going up during COVID because people, that's one of the few things we were allowed to do in the UK, was to go around and still go buy a house or move. And everybody wanted this work from home spare room. So everybody was upgrading, they wanted another spare room, etc. But yeah, all that kind of thing all went crazy during COVID because no one had anything else better to do, really. But the prices will have come down considerably.
What's your where does your heart lie in your history of gaming machines?
In gaming machines, yeah, although I've got an Xbox, I've got a Nintendo, but my preferred choice has always really been Sony. I prefer the PS5, the PS4, PS3, and Xbox. Obviously, I mean Xbox to a point. The Xbox 360 was obviously a great console, but then after then it really went more Sony for myself.
Yeah.
I prefer Sony because of the exclusives. Xbox, I don't know. I've got an Xbox Series S upstairs and Xbox Series X downstairs. It only seems to get used for the games that I bought digitally. Like I bought Baldur's Gate digitally. That's the only thing that it's holding on to for dear life, really. Otherwise, really, I should sell it. It doesn't have that much use. All the games that are out on Xbox Series
Everything's
X.
an Xbox these days, Paul. I don't know if you've heard.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's all coming to PlayStation as well. Indiana Jones allegedly is coming in April. But yeah, I mean, obviously one of the best things about Xbox, well, it's Sony's obviously been doing something similar, is Game Pass. So there's a good range of games there if you want to play all those games. And obviously you can share your Game Pass. I don't pay for my Game Pass. It's like a shared account on Game Pass. But I don't play it that often to really justify having Game Pass, other than when back in the day you could actually get like 2 or 3 years like really cheap. People used to stack it up.
I don't
and
pay
you'd
for
be paying
mine, but that's because I do Microsoft Rewards.
Well, yeah, there's a way. This is it. You know, you can actually earn it, can't you? You can actually.
Well, they nerfed it for pretty badly for a good 6 months, but it's now fairly easy to rack up a load of reward points again. If you play regular and you do all of the daily stuff, then you can rack up the rewards points quite nicely. I'm up to January next year, and I've already got enough to cash in another 3 months, and halfway through to another 3 months probably after that. So, just from doing Bing searches and it's selling myself to Microsoft slightly, but it takes about 5 minutes a day. And then actually, they've had some good games come out the last few months, so it's been quite easy to play a Game Pass game every day on my PC. So that's where I've been racking up the old points again.
Yeah, I'd really like to play Avowed, but obviously doing this Year of Shame challenge, we're not meant to. We're only meant to play our back catalogue games.
So is there no exceptions at all now this year? I feel like that was I was when the old.
Sorry, give the listeners anybody who doesn't know, what's the Year of Shame challenge?
The Year of Shame challenge, basically, it's a yearly podcast. It's free to 4 different hosts each year. Sometimes you get a returning host from a past year. But the general idea is your pile of shame is all the games in your back catalogue that you haven't been playing, that just keep getting further and further and further down your list and are not being played. So the general idea is for 12 months, you don't buy any more games, although you do have the option to have a joker where you can buy one game and you can have a gift where someone can buy you a gift of one game. So you can technically have 2 games. Now,
gives you a year of Game Pass.
Well, it's kind of I kind of got a cheat code on this, unfortunately, because I decided pretty much stupidly to buy a PlayStation Pro, and I'd recently updated or resubscribed to my PlayStation Premium, which is technically Xbox Game Pass for PlayStation. I was in 2 minds whether to do the Year of Shame challenge. So I says, well, I tell you what, I won't buy any games, but I want to be able to use my premium PlayStation, which is a bit of a cheat code.
You can play old games on the premium.
You can play old games, but you shouldn't really play the new games that you haven't already owned before then. Yeah. So each game that they bring out. But anyway, I'm allowed to do that. But I'm trying my best not to do that. I'm sticking to the games, but because I'm a tight-fisted Yorkshireman and I've just bought the PlayStation 5 Pro, I'm thinking, well, I should have just bought it.
Can't be that tight-fisted.
Well,
not if you've got a Pro.
No,
that's the only Pro they've sold in Yorkshire, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, I've seen a few.
Well, you don't live in Yorkshire, though, do you?
No, not anymore.
Oh.
But the PlayStation 5 Pro got a really good deal on that. I sold my old PlayStation. There was a deal where you could get like a 10% off code, and there were people, because the PlayStation 5 Pro, PlayStation, Sony had out what they call it, scalped. They'd already scalped the price on the PlayStation Pro. It was already at the top level that anyone was even imaginably going to actually pay. So a lot of people bought the PlayStation 5 Pro to resell it. All of a sudden, there's tons of stock. I pre-ordered one, and after a couple of weeks, I just cancelled it. I thought, well, there's tons of stock. Why have I even pre-ordered this? I'm not even really that sure that I actually really want it. And so people were selling them on eBay for 550 quid. And if you take another 10%, in fact, it was more, it was 625 quid. I got a 10% off code on that. and that brought it down to around about 550 quid. I had some Nectar points. I chucked in 100 quid's worth of Nectar points. That brought it down a little bit further. And then I sold my sold my PlayStation to somebody, which is another tale altogether, in what they call it, in Jersey, or Guernsey, or whichever it is, yeah. And I stupidly sent it, and I didn't fill in a customs form. I thought it was part of the United Kingdom. It's got a UK postcode. They have like +44 on the end of their phone numbers, etc.
It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So I sent it, and so anyway, I kind of realised that it dawned on me what I'd done, and I'm thinking like, oh no, this is December. This is going to be somebody's Christmas present. I've probably ruined somebody's Christmas, because what I read was that if it goes in, because obviously I realised this at about 11 o'clock at night, because I keep checking the tracking. Oh, it hadn't arrived yet, and I've sent it special delivery. It should turn up fairly quickly. And so I investigated it, and it turns out that if you don't fill in this form, then it'll go into customs. It'll sit in customs for a couple of weeks, and we'll just ship it back to you, so they don't destroy it or anything. Now, the thing is with Jernsey or Guernsey, whichever it is
we can just call it Jernsey at this point, right?
Yeah, it's easier for me. I'll remember it. But so I filled in this. I hadn't filled in this form, and then I'm thinking, oh no. So thankfully, it still turned up, because even if you put it down as like a zero value, they're not out to cheat anybody, because it isn't like if you import something from America, where you should pay an import duty on it. They're not paying an import duty. All they're interested in knowing is what is the value of the item. So even if I devalued it by £200, then no one's gaining anything, because they don't pay any tax on it when it arrives in the country. So it's a really grey area. It's stupid. This is all to do with Brexit, etc. So, but yeah, one of them things.
Groovy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sony's definitely the favourite console, really.
Right. Okay, good. All right. Well, look, let's carry on with the show then, because we always have some stuff. Neil's got to get through his football stuff.
I haven't done I haven't posted any of the comments into the show notes, so you might have to look at Discord.
What show note? What? Oh, okay. I'll do that while you talk about football.
Okay, I'll talk about football. So FPL, you're not in the league pool, I noticed.
No, do you know what? I was looking at that, and I thought I'm going to watch a YouTube on how to do this. What they call it again? Fantasy football.
Fantasy Premier League.
Yeah. Well, my team's not in the Premier League, you see. So
nor's mine.
Who's that? Luton.
Leeds United.
Well, they might be next year. They were doing okay.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, we are top of the league. So fingers crossed.
We're top of the league if it's upside down.
Are you a Luton?
I'm Luton. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're second from bottom actually at the moment, I think. Maybe even third. We won last week. Been stinking it up this year, big time. Anyway, let's talk about that later. I've pressed the button. What was it? So our FPL, top of our league is Joel Reeves. Still. No change in the top 8 places this week in terms of order. There's a bit of a swing in terms of points. Joel stretches lead slightly over Lewis. But yeah, there was much of a muchness on the top, apart from Nathan got 75. There was a few in the 60s. Adam got 58. But otherwise, the top 10 were 60 to 70-ish. So not really big changes. Big scorer on the week was Chris Jackson. FC Grump. That's 2 weeks in a row he's had the top score, I think. He got 80 points last week. No chips played, I don't think, last week. So it was a good week for Chris. Yeah, I'm just doing rubbish. Bad transfers.
You did worse than me.
Which is saying something.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I cost myself some points to bring in Ethan Nwaneri of Arsenal. And then turns out they've got players coming back fit. I was like, oh, that's good to know. After I've done the transfer. So he didn't really play the full game. He was rubbish anyway.
Man, don't even start. I don't even know what I was thinking putting in Nketiah last week. Fucking, he did not play this week.
I told you that last week before you did it.
I know. I don't know. I'm just losing the plot.
You're trying to get to bottom, I think. But yeah, anyway. It's not been great from us lads. We need to step it up. You've got no chance of getting anywhere near the top this year.
Now. I'm done. I'm cooked.
I had hopes of breaking into the top 10 and moving up to maybe top 5, but it's all gone a bit.
I'm watching Dave pull away in front of me again. Like, Jesus.
Where is he?
I don't know. I can't see him anymore.
Oh, he's far away from you, that's for sure. But yeah, he was a 63, so he's touring alongside the top end of the table. You and I were not so good. Not the worst, excuse me. But yeah, not great, especially when you take a 4-point hit like me. As you alluded to there, there's people not playing this weekend because it's the Carabao Cup final on Sunday, which is Liverpool v Newcastle, which means they would obviously have been playing in the Premier League this week because everyone else is, apart from the teams they were playing.
You want to hear something, Neil?
Go on.
I took a -8 this week.
Have you got 11 players playing?
I don't think you'll ever have heard me take a -8. Have I ever taken a -8 before?
I don't think so. You'd have been giving me a lot of shit for taking a -8, but I was considering a -12 this week. If ever there's a time to do it, it's the week that no one's got hardly any players playing.
I'm beyond now. I'm just throwing whatever Hail Marys at the wall. Yeah. I don't care.
So, yeah, I've made one change because I needed a goalkeeper for the week. So that was my free transfer burned on. Sorry, Forest fans. I've put Matt Sells in goal. So assuming you're going to concede goals this week.
Oh, God, don't, because I just put in Forest defenders. You know it's going to happen, right? They're going to get
we've absolutely cursed them. Yeah. They've got Ipswich away or something this week, I think. So it's like,
I think I had to. I'm annoyed at myself. Like, I was looking at Chipper Spice. She said today that she's been holding on to Saka. And I know why she's held on to Saka, because she's a dirty gooner, right? She loves the Arsenal. She loves the arse. But you can't play with your heart. It's terrible. And that's why, I've not had one Forest player in my squad all year. Did you put
I had 2 last week. I've had multiple Forest players since the turn of this year, but I left it too long. I did like I did last year with Cole Palmer. I was like, I'm not putting him in. Because he was really, really cheap at the beginning of last year. And then obviously he was doing really well, so his value was going through the roof. And I was like, well, I've missed the boat basically. It's cost too much now. But he was still relatively cheap. But this year, he started off expensive. So I was like, I'm not putting him in, he's too expensive. I did have him. I've just fucked it, basically, this year again. And like...
Where are you? Are you in top 10?
Well, I'm mid-table. 14th.
No. That's a no, then. You can say no.
I said I'm mid-table. But yeah, it's bad. It's bad this year. But yeah, this weekend, no Aston Villa, no Crystal Palace, no Liverpool, no Newcastle as far as our game's concerned. But obviously they'll have, the Liverpool made up. I'm a bit confused with Liverpool because obviously they've had 2 double game weeks previously. I don't know if they've made up this game week already. But like the other teams, I think have got fixtures down the line. Obviously they're going to need to make up. So bad for this week, potentially good for the weeks in future. Yeah, so I'll quickly do head to head, I think. Mr. Kinsett's top. Did he lose? I can't remember if he lost.
So.
We don't want him to lose because then we got Americans heading towards the top of the league. Right. So we'll have a Brit at the top. We don't want these Americans winning. They're far too gobby. Not like Americans, obviously, to be a bit gobby. And they all support Forest. Well, not all of them. Luciano supports Liverpool, apparently.
Yeah.
So at least one of his teams is going to win something, maybe. You'd hope at this point. They won't win the Champions League, obviously, because they got done on penalties. Mr. Pilch got a bit of a good rise last week. He's up to 7th in the head-to-head. Beat you, didn't he?
I know. I played Matthew Arnold.
Who did Pilch beat? I feel like he beat... I think he must have beat one of the Yanks.
He beat Daisy, didn't he?
No, that was
the week before.
Yeah, he must have beat one of the Yanks. Yeah, he beat Lewis. Well done, Pilch.
Nice one,
yeah, you're still bottom. You lost. So, luckily for you, the average lost as well last week. So, I think that's it, really, football-wise.
All right.
Bit of a weird week this week. Back to normal.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it's not back to normal because we've got international games, I think, following week. So
Carabao Cup final this weekend.
Carabao Cup final this weekend with some Premier League games. Then it's international for like a week and a bit. So I'll probably be back. I don't know what's going on after that week. 30 will be 2 weeks of time, I believe. Keep going to get my drink from here, which is normally here. It's not there.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
That's football. Okay. Any other football stuff, Paul?
Not really, other than been watching Leeds. Leeds is going to be playing tomorrow, which should be an interesting game.
I think they've got to play Luton,
Rangers.
haven't they? We've got to play Leeds soon.
Probably. Well, this is it. I mean, the problem
we need to have an off week when we play us. If that'd be good, if you could arrange that, that'd be good.
Well, all the Leeds fans seem to say that any team that we play, for some reason, the other team seems to think it's their FA Cup final. You know, they all just seem to go for it and give us a really hard game, and sort of like highly defensive, very, very sort of cagey kind of games, generally speaking. But fingers crossed, we will, we will beat you. So
5th of April, it's an early kickoff on the Saturday. So
you don't need to keep your fingers crossed for that, Paul. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, we did win a game this week.
Yeah. Who would it Portsmouth you played against?
Might have been.
Yeah.
We definitely were supposed to play them recently. Was that the game we won? I can't remember. There was a game that looked like we weren't going to win and we won.
Well, if it were Portsmouth, they beat us the week before.
Yeah, who knows? It's the Championship. It's all over the place, isn't it?
Anything can happen.
And usually does.
All right, let's move on to some listener stuff. What do we got here? Listener stuff. What's that? Yeah, I posted it in here. But Chipper said, not a question, just to share. Read an article today in Variety that Seth Rogen said they weren't allowed to use a PlayStation controller in the Superbad film since Jonah Hill's character was so rotten they didn't want it on film. There you go. Bit of trivia for you.
There you go. I remember that.
I wonder, did we know what he used instead? Maybe they didn't even bother.
I have no idea. I've not seen it, honestly.
No?
No, not seen Superbad.
Have you seen Superbad, Paul?
Yeah, it's excellent. There's a scene in it which is easy to remember, where they end up at this party, and the guys are all dancing around, and there's a woman in there, and she's got like these like white trousers on. I hope I'm remembering this correctly. And he's dancing with her, and he gets really sort of tight to a particular place while he's dancing, so like grinding or whatever. And then he sort of like pulls away. And anyway, she must be, that time of the month or whatever, and there's like blood all over the place, and it's, through the white trousers. It's a lot funnier than what I make it sound. But if you've ever heard that guy called McLovin, it used to be a name everyone used to sort of, and that's where that comes from. McLovin. He used to have his fake ID to get into the bars and stuff. So yeah, it's a really good film, actually. Well worth watching.
I am more than aware of that fake ID because last week my daughter got a flag of the McLovin driver's license, which she's put it on her wall for I don't know for whatever reason, but she's a Superbad fan now.
Yeah,
it's
great. You should watch it.
I have seen it a long time ago. I don't know whether
didn't really lodge in the memory that much though. Apparently, you don't remember gaming.
I do remember a lot of people loving it at the time. All right, thanks, Chipper. Mark MS Rangers. Good to hear from you, Mark. Says with MS, Microsoft and Xbox now stating that their games will go on multi-platforms. Do you think maybe they jumped the gun with the quality of games that are due to be released on top of Indiana Jones, along with Doom, South of Midnight, Avowed, Fable? Do you think maybe they jumped the gun with going multi-platforms, and maybe if they held tight, maybe, just maybe, they could have clawed back some PlayStation owners to get Xbox consoles and slowly catch up with Sony? What do we think?
Well, I guess they know better than us.
I don't know. It's a difficult. Go on, Paul.
I don't think they're going to catch up. I think it's game over.
I think it's game over as well.
I don't think they're in the same. I think they even said the same. They're not even bothered anymore about catching Sony up. They've got a huge array of studios to make them enough money if they deliver half decent games, and they do put them on PlayStation. Like Forza Horizon's out in a month and a bit. Is it on PlayStation? Obviously, that's been out on Xbox for ages and PC. But I guess it's not that much effort because they're all similar architecture-wise now. PCs and games consoles are very similar. So it's not, I guess, a lot of effort to make it work on another platform. It's just whether you're willing to put that little bit of work in to get whatever gain you're going to get out of it. It's probably not going to cost you a lot to get potentially quite a lot of money back the other way to go on a platform. If you go into Sony, it's not going to work the other way, obviously, because there's not enough Xboxes to make it. So it already costs Sony a shitload of money to make a game, apparently. So the extra it would cost to just put that on another platform where there's not really going to be any returns. I mean, there's definitely huge returns on PC available for PlayStation, which is where they're putting their games. But not necessarily when they come out. So they do like to keep.
One of the problems seems to be when they release a lot of these games onto PC at the moment, they always seem to come across as very performance hungry and often have very, very bad launches, same as that Rise of the Ronin. I watch a lot of YouTubes.
Is that bad, is it?
Yeah, it's meant to be. I've got it on PlayStation, and I will say that technically it looks a little bit last gen, like a bit PS4. Really, I wouldn't say it had to be a PS5 game graphically, but yeah, it's quite typical. A lot of these games have a bad launch on PC for some reason. You get a lot of people complaining about that, but that's understandable as the platform isn't uniform, is it? You've got AMD, NVIDIA, you've got all your different processors, you've got a whole lot of different things to consider. So yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah. I think they don't even care about catching Sony up. Certainly in terms of selling consoles, they just want to. I mean, their big history is selling software and services. It's transitioned from selling software into selling services. Effectively, I'd say Microsoft as a whole.
Microsoft has never been a great hardware company.
Well, they've made hardware for a long time. I had Microsoft joysticks and stuff like that when I was younger, like keyboards, all that stuff that was decent. They were there before the likes of Razer and all that hoo-ha, weren't they?
Yeah, that's fair enough, I suppose. But I mean, it also seems like they're littered with they're an odd duck, aren't they? Because I mean, the Xbox 360 was great. At the same time, it was they had a horrendous failure with it as well. They still managed to sort of, push through that.
I mean, by the end of that generation, the PS3 was the biggest selling platform.
Yeah.
Despite the huge lead that Microsoft managed to get at the beginning of that generation.
But a lot of people talk very fondly about a lot of Microsoft products. I mean, I think people do like the Zune. I think the Windows Phone has like a legion of people who thought it was excellent.
It was way ahead of its time. They had loads of stuff. All of these ones did everything before Apple did. And then when Apple do it, it's the fucking best thing ever.
Yeah.
But it's like, I had that about 10 years ago.
Yeah. Who knows? I don't know. I can't keep up. I just watch it happen.
All right, I mean, like I said, I think they've got enough good studios under their reign, as it were, now to make some good money, assuming they deliver.
Yeah.
And don't spend hundreds of millions of pounds to make a game.
It's ultimately going to be what their remit is, right? What do they want to do?
Make money?
Yeah, I guess. All right, Pilch. Sorry, Paul, did you have something to add there?
I was going to say, with it being, I presume it's an American company, you've probably got companies all over the place, but I imagine they could run it as a tax loss based on the amount of money they probably make from other things. In any case, it's probably almost a vanity project for them.
It could be, yeah. I mean, I don't even know how much Xbox was. I mean, to us, Xbox is huge and a big, massive entity. But I mean, is it even a blip on the Microsoft?
This is where like the Xbox and PlayStation brands differ as far as their parent company is concerned, because I think PlayStation is absolutely massive for Sony as a brand in terms of its value.
Yeah,
and actually profitability and things like that. Whereas a lot of other Sony stuff doesn't make any money. Like they binned off all their phones.
Not like the old days, right?
No, and whereas Xbox is like it doesn't make them any money. Don't think it really costs them to run the business. I don't think probably breaks even sort of thing. But Microsoft makes so much fucking money. It's insane.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for that, Mark. Nice to hear from you again. Pilch says, did he kick it once or twice? I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
Does anybody know what that reference is?
So you put it in, I was a bit like,
no.
Where is that from? I was like, is that in the wrong channel? I don't know.
Did he kick it once or twice? I don't know. Pilch, you're going to have to enlighten us on that.
You don't have to explain that one. Elaborate.
Anyway, thanks for getting in touch. We appreciate it. All right, let's move on to what we've been doing. I know I got a couple of things I want to talk about. Neil's got a couple of things he wants to talk about. Dave's not here, but Paul may have a couple of things he wants to talk about. Let's start with the most important thing, shall we?
What's that? Your hi-fi?
No, it's your birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I had a good birthday.
Yeah,
well, actually, my birthday was
50.
pretty low-key. We went out at the weekend before my birthday, and that was a good day. We went.
Didn't catch up with you. I wanted to catch up with you on that day, but I.
Oh yeah, I was.
Was it bad?
Well, it wasn't bad, good. But I was probably not in a good state to speak to anyone and remember anything. So yeah, we went to the Milton Keynes. My wife had booked a load of stuff basically because she's awesome. Don't tell her I said that though. So we went to this place in Milton Keynes called Rumble Rooms, which is quite new, I think. Used to be a Brewdog pub. They serve beer, but they have activities that you can participate in. There's a load of pool tables. They've got some arcade machines.
Oh, you did say you were going to this place, yeah.
No, we didn't pay any arcade. I didn't pay any arcade machines though. They had the new Daytona machine, two-seater.
Well, doesn't this answer?
We had a conversation about this the other day. Obviously, was that last week? Literally, we were talking about
last
arcades.
Week, yeah. So we were talking about arcades.
So yeah, this is one of the places you can go and play modern arcade machines. There was a Mission Impossible machine, which I didn't. It was like a light gun game,
right?
And that was a couple of others that I didn't really pay attention to because I wasn't there for that. What we went there for is me and the lads weren't allowed to drink before we'd done axe throwing, which is also one of the things you can do there. Indoors.
Yeah.
In an environment where there is alcohol. But they were very strict saying, you cannot do axe throwing if you have been drinking. You are not allowed to drink while you're doing axe throwing. I was like, okay. So I didn't have a drink for about 3/4 of an hour while we were there. I had a zero Asahi, and I cannot recommend that if you like it to drink what supposedly is a lager, which with no alcohol in. Guess what? It's one of those other ones that doesn't taste anything like lager with no alcohol in.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Oh, there you go. Just have a Coke or something instead.
Oh, so who was telling you not to drink? Was that under instruction from your missus?
That's from them. You are not allowed to drink if you are doing axe throwing, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because obviously they don't want people being a bit silly with axes.
It's you guys in the UK are too out of control. I went axe throwing here a few months ago, and yeah, they're fine. They just serve you up beers while you're throwing axes.
Okay. Well, we're not hard over here. We're not hardcore enough.
You're too hardcore. That's the problem.
Well, turns out I'm quite good at throwing axes at the target, right? And hitting the target. Unfortunately, I didn't land a single axe in the target. They were all hitting the target and just bouncing off and landing in the floor.
Oh, dear.
Because the wrong end of the axe kept hitting the target.
What?
So I needed to stand a yard further back or something for it to rotate enough to land in the board, I think. But there was no space back, and I was like, I'm not really going to go any further forward because I don't want that thing coming back and hitting me. Although it was obviously like a little fence that supposedly was supposed to stop. Well, I watched a few other people before, and it was like you can do it like with two hands over your head and throw it like that, or just like a one-handed throw.
I went for the one hand.
I went for the one hand. The guy was for demonstrating. He was like throwing it with his arm, sort of towards his throwing arm nearest the board, and I was like, I did that once, and I was like, that feels completely wrong. I don't know what you're doing that for. I stand the other way, throw it like across your body towards that's how you throw. Sort of twist as you throw, don't you?
I don't know. Yeah, the listeners are enjoying your demonstration
there. Anyway, so I kept hitting the target, but not with a pointy end. So I didn't hit a single one. The big tall lads, they were just like doing this like a fairly delicate throw, and it was like loop in a bit, and then they were sticking them in, and I was like, I can't do that. I can't get the loop right. They were like a foot taller than me. I was just throwing it a bit too hard.
You're just a caveman.
But I was like, I reckon I could have knocked a few people out with my throws. Whereas I don't know if they'd have actually stuck in people's heads with the speed that they were going at when they were throwing.
A few black eyes.
But anyway, I was shit at axe throwing, but it was fun. And then we played darts. But with these, like, they were weird. It was like a projected dart. I don't know if they had connects above. I didn't look. But, like, they had projected dartboard. The rings were on the board, but it was just like a foam background. It was like a dartboard texture, but there was no actual dartboards there. It was just like a big area of dart absorbent material. And then they had like the rings, and then they'd project either a proper dartboard image onto the rings, or there was other games that you could play. There was like Robin Hood, so it was like always about nearest the bullseye. And then there was Killer, so they'd block off the dartboard into segments, and you'd have to own a segment, and then you could start chipping away at points and all this sort of stuff. All loads of different dart-based games. I was like, that's actually pretty good. But it was a bit of a gripe for me. On the Robin Hood game, where you had to hit the bullseye was literally like the very centre bullseye was the centre bullseye. Fucking hit the bullseye, you only get like one more point than hitting the massive blue section that was outside it. I was like, that's a bit shit, isn't it? That I don't get loads more points, because I lost anyway, despite being the only person to actually hit the bullseye. But yeah, I enjoyed that section of the birthday. And then I think we just came home and started drinking heavily with all my friends and eating some pizzas, and it was a good day.
Very nice.
It was very nice.
How do you feel about turning 50?
Oh, it's just another day, isn't it?
Yeah, didn't bother me 50. I don't know why. It was all right.
It's not as good as 30, but there we go.
All right, well, happy birthday. Get anything
nice? Thanks very much. I've got several bottles of tequila. I don't know why everyone wanted to buy me tequila, but apparently that's everyone associates me with drinking tequila. So, and then I got a load of chili nuts. My wife went down the chili shop in town and bought a load of chili sauces and stuff, because I like my chili sauces. So I've got a load of different stuff to try. But yeah, I said I didn't really want anything for my birthday, because I'll probably end up spending a shitload of money on something on my computer. So don't go out. Want. Yeah.
I hear you.
But yeah, I had a good time, and she did well.
All right.
I was half expecting, when you're buying a power supply, you was going to be, with it being your birthday, you're going to be saying you bought an AMD 9070 XT or something.
I'll keep looking every day, and I'm on the email notifications. But that is definitely on the list of things that if that comes available at the right price, I'm buying one. Because
what's the right price?
Well, it's still not cheap, but because it's like they're 600 to 700. Well, some of them are 800 quid, but I'm not paying 800 quid for one, because they're no better than the ones that are 600 odd quid. It's just because it's got Asus on it that it's fucking loads of money, or Gigabyte, and they're not even the best AMD cards supposedly. They make good they're even making good NVIDIA cards probably these days, but they're proper price premium without having anything to define why you need to pay that premium on these cards. There's one I really, because my PC is white generally, I do want a white card, so that makes it a little bit more expensive usually. So it's the one I've got my eye on is £670 from Scan at the moment, but it's out of stock because you can't get them. Or it's 690 quid at another place where it's still out of stock. So hopefully, fingers crossed, when they come actually available, they won't go up in price. Because that I'm willing to pay, because I was a bit like, still a lot of money. And then I watched a video that they compared the 9070 XT to a 5080. And I was like, oh, it's quite competitive on some games. Then other games, it's not at all. But then I was like, oh, how much is a 5080? I was like, oh, well, that's why they're not competitive on a couple of games, because it's about £1,500 for a 5080. I was like, well, I'm not fucking buying one of them. That's insane. So,
what card have you got in there at the moment?
A 3080.
A 3080. Well, I think there's about 100 watts difference between them two cards. So I think 3080 is about 250 when it's on the full load.
Yeah.
And then the XT some of them might go a little bit more. I think they're about 350 to 380 watts.
I've watched a lot of videos last week, and apparently if you undervolt them slightly, which means that you reduce the wattage, they actually run better.
Oh yeah, they'll run cooler and everything.
Yeah. And they use less power, they run cooler, and they actually run the games at higher frame rates, which is bizarre, but there we go.
That's generally the slight difference between AMD and NVIDIA, and with Intel as well, is that AMD generally seems to be a little bit more power hungry, which generally generates more heat. So, but yeah, the cooler the better. And there's a lot about undervolting. You undervolt all these things, and it brings it. I mean, the cost of electric, etc. If you want to play your computer for say 5 hours, bring it. If you could knock 100 watts off of that, it's cheaper to play over a year. That's for sure.
Yeah, I ain't too worried about that now. Obviously, buying a 1,000
that's all out the window. That's all out the window now.
I just like I said before, I wanted that headroom. Like I felt like it was getting to the point where 750 was potentially not going to be enough. When everything's cranking at the max, it's a bit like that's probably getting to the limit of 750, and who knows what's going to need in like my last power supply lasted me ages. So if I get 1,000 watts now and it lasts me 10 years, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, but just make sure you keep a copy of your receipt because it will last for it. I imagine you bought. I think I don't actually mention the model, but I imagine it's a Corsair or something like that. Yeah, because they do seem to make the best ones.
They definitely got a good track record. There's ones you can spend a lot more money on that are supposedly like Seasonic do something like a 2,000 watt PSU, which is really, really highly rated. But I'm like, it's 600 quid or something stupid. I'm like, if I can pay that, I don't need that.
Well, it's one of the things you shouldn't skimp on, isn't it? You don't skimp on the PSU simply because if you buy something and it's running absolutely full out, your system could just keep shutting down, or even worse, it could, if it's a cheap PSU, it could even blow the whole system up practically.
It costs you hundreds and hundreds elsewhere if you don't have a good power supply. So it's not. It's like say, there's certain things. Well, everything nowadays you have to spend a lot of money on. It seems to, or you don't have to, but it's not as cheap as it used to be.
I mean, your 3080, I've had one in the past. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a 3080. The only little problem with the 3080 is the typical NVIDIA thing, always less VRAM. So you've got 10 gigabytes on the 3080.
Yeah,
if it have had, say, 12, I mean,
there was a card that came with 12, but they did upgrade it to 12, but I didn't get that one.
Yeah, 3080 Ti. I imagine that's the 3080 Ti. So, but they're quite power hungry as well.
Yeah, so 16 gigabytes on the 9070 XTs. AMD cards tend to run with more RAM. They come with more RAM for some reason. I don't know why. And the games nowadays definitely need a lot of VRAM, it turns out. Especially when you start doing ray tracing. If you do, apparently VR is an absolute killer for VRAM, but I don't do VR really, but that needs loads of VRAM, apparently. But the NVIDIA cards are definitely, other than the super premium, like I say, the 5080's got 16 gigabytes of VRAM, but it's like 1,500 quid for a graphics card. I'm like, that's mental. That's mental.
I
mean, that's the series graphics card that I've got equivalent, but 2 generations before, and I paid over the odds because it was above MSRP when I bought mine because that was COVID times when everything went crazy, and I paid about 900 quid for that. And I wasn't happy about paying it, but I wanted it because I'd got a 2080 before, and the 2080 was hugely underwhelming. It was just like, it had ray tracing, but if you tried putting ray tracing on it, basically didn't do anything. It was like running at single frames, but it's like, this is shit. So I got it for the ray tracing, but now I'm not that fussed about ray tracing anymore.
One good thing that they've almost given for free, all this RTS and FSR, so even on the lower end card these days, you can still play them at 4K. You turn on the FSR or the RTS to give you that frame generation, etc. That really is like a genuine freebie because of almost, if you've got something like, say, like a GTX 1080 Ti, which has still got 11 gigabytes, which is an old card, but it was a good card back in its day, that can still fares pretty well if you turn on some of those frame generation things, for sure.
You can't run ray tracing, obviously, on that. We could, maybe, but it's not got anything hardware-wise to help with ray tracing, so it'll really chuck.
But like you say, even a modern card, you turn that ray tracing on, and you're trying to play it at 4K or something. You got a few of them settings turned up. You watch that performance just drop.
It's crazy. Yeah, ray tracing looks nice when it works, but yeah, some games. Because that Black Myth Wukong is notorious. It absolutely kills everything. Graphics cards. You need a 5090 to run that at 4K Ultra 60. It's just like, nah, I'm not buying one of them. They must be about $3,000 by now. It's just insane. The Nvidia cards have gone completely ridiculous price-wise.
Well, they say it's because the Chinese market, they banned the import, or they were no longer allowed to import graphics cards because they were using them all for artificial intelligence. Yeah. And so what they do, people buy the graphics cards, they take off the chip, and then they just import the chip. You know, the main processor, the GPU.
AI stuff.
Yeah, so they can do the AI over in China. That's allegedly why the crazy prices, but as some kind of international ban on them buying them. Bonkers.
Yeah. Well, that's what pushes the price. The AI stuff is just in. It was all about crypto mining like 10 years ago, and now it's all about AI.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right, what else you got? No time for drinking, Dr. Jones.
Sorry, I bought my Apple TV.
I've
set that up, and so far, it definitely runs everything quick. It's quicker at like playing stuff. Like you click play and it plays, like on like Amazon Prime or whatever. Whereas your TV goes, think about it for a few seconds, get the stream ready, and then it starts playing. So it's a lot quicker at getting things up and running. It feels like compared to the inbuilt stuff on my TV. And I've not got my C3 TV. LG, so it's only like a 2023 TV. It's quite good. Not absolute top of the range, but it's got a good processor and everything versus the C9 that I've got upstairs. But yeah, I haven't really tested it out. Excuse me, on anything else. The one film I did watch, I didn't finish because my brother was around and we were flicking through. I was flicking through I was all just sit on my Apple TV, blah blah blah. And I was like, flicked on Amazon Prime, and the Borderlands movie is on Amazon Prime. So we started watching that Borderlands movie, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's so and so," because apparently he can remember everything about Borderlands game that he played about 10 years ago. And I was like, "I played Borderlands 2. I couldn't tell you anything about it, other than I shot a lot of guns. I don't know any of the characters. Don't know nothing about it." But he was like, "Oh, that's so-and-so. And if there's not so-and-so here, then it's going to be shit." I was like, "I don't know who you're talking about." And then we made it about an hour, and I was like, it's not the worst film I've ever seen, but I don't really want to watch the rest of it.
It wasn't enriching your life, was it?
It's like I could definitely live with it without watching the rest of this.
The thing I found with the Apple TV was it's one of these devices that I got it, and I was super excited about having it and really excited about setting it up. And then you get it and you're like, what can I do with this thing? And then you realize there isn't really a massive amount you can just do with it. Like it just needs to do its thing, right? I think that's the secret. It be there, let it do its thing. And then over the course of time, once you've suddenly adapted and got used to using it and worked your way around it and whatever, then you suddenly, I think after you need a few weeks to live with it before you suddenly say, you know what, this thing is working okay for me.
I'm not going to really start knowing about it until I get rid of Sky, which is happening in early April, because that's the time when it becomes the main device, rather than, because we've still got Sky, so we're using everything on Sky boxes still. And I'm not paying for Now TV, whereas that'll be one of the things that goes on the thing. The slightly annoying things, which means I'm going to have to phone my EE TV provider, which is BT sort of thing. I don't know, it's complicated. Is I managed to install the EE TV app on the Apple TV, which I've got on my phone, and I can put on all of the phones and watch all of my TNT sports. Fine, but after me installing EE TV on the Apple TV, which apparently it says on the EE website you can't do, it's like, well, it definitely worked. When you go upstairs to the EE TV box and try to watch any of the channels, it says you need to set these channels up. It's like, well, they were set up. It's like, no, because I've installed the app on my Apple TV. It's like, made that the primary box. I was like, oh. So I was like, oh, I'll just take it back upstairs. So it's now, I can't watch the EE TV on my Apple TV. So I might need to make a phone call to BT and go, can I just pay you £5 a month to have like extra box but use my Apple TV instead? Because I think that's the deal. It's £5 a month to have an extra box. And then hopefully it would work in 2 rooms. But yeah, more bullshit nonsense to worry or stress about. Well, not stress about, just sort out in terms of getting what you want to work, which doesn't involve the actual devices that you own.
It's get the ecosystem working.
The services that you pay for, they work. Last thing wouldn't be wouldn't be a normal week for me without going for a quiz. So we went to the quiz down to Hare.
And I predict that you did not win this week.
Well, have I got news for you? Because we took our ringers in. My mum and dad. My mum and dad. And my brother was there, but he's only there as a member of the team to argue with usually and not provide many correct answers. So we won the quiz by a point. Well, actually, we had to do a tiebreaker. There was me, my wife and son. My daughter was out with her boyfriend, and then my parents and my brother. And there's a team that do the quiz in the local club, and they always call themselves the Jolly Boys. And they've started going to the boot quiz and spoiling our fun over there because we used to win until they started fucking turning up. And now they win all the fucking boot quizzes. And they were at the Hare quiz, and we fucking beat them. They weren't happy about it.
Do you guys have a little bit friendly banter?
There's a bit. Well, they were on the other side of the pub, so we couldn't properly do it this time. But yeah, there's a bit of friendly banter going on. Maybe not so friendly. I don't know.
Oh, like your car's on fire.
The couple of questions pissed me off. At the beginning of the quiz, they said the quiz master's answer is final. If it doesn't match the quiz master, tough. And one of the questions was, who was the WSL top scorer last season? Women's Super League, that is, for you. You wouldn't probably know what that was, Fraser.
No idea, yeah.
Women's football in this country.
Right.
Top level women's football. And I said to my son, I was like, was that a Bunny Shaw? I think it's Bunny Shaw. And like, Bunny Shaw plays for Man City. Probably not an answer many people are going to come up with it, in my opinion, because not the most famous women's footballer in the country, despite being top scorer last season. So I was pretty confident we got the right answer. Comes to the answers, and the answer given is Kadja Shaw. I was like, that's Bunny Shaw? That's her name? He was like, no, you're not having Bunny Shaw. I was like, it's the same fucking person. Just because it doesn't say Bunny, that's the same person. He's like, no, you can't have it. I was like, you're fucking taking a piss. So I got the right answer and still didn't get a point. But we won anyway.
All right. Sorry for your traumatic event.
Yeah, it was a bit stressful. I was getting, I was like, oh, that's it. I'm throwing my toys out the pram. I'm not playing anymore. Take my ball away.
What did you win?
We won the bragging rights because it was a charity quiz. So the 50 quid prize we put in the charity.
Yeah, good for you.
Because it was a lady's going to do the London Marathon this year. Her husband passed away. I think it was brain cancer. And he's like left behind like 3 kids. He's in his 30s. He's well young. Oof. Real shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, literally got to hold his third daughter, and the day he died or something. That was real. Like his newborn,
right?
Third daughter, and then he died that day. It was pretty shit. As pretty shit as it gets, really. So yeah, it's all about cancer research and something else that I really shouldn't have forgotten, but I have. But there was definitely 2 charities, but definitely cancer research was the main one.
Right, right, I got you.
So yeah.
All right. I've got a few things on here. Paul, have you got anything you want to talk about?
I've not been doing a great deal this week. One thing I have done, I've been starting to go back to the gym. It's kind of been like the first time I've been to a gym properly since probably COVID. I used to go all the time just to keep fit, not muscle building, just to keep fit. Yeah, so I've been starting to enjoy that again. Been really
Dave
good.
Inspired you, has he?
Did he join the gym recently?
He did it. Was it at the start of this year?
He's been going for a while now.
Last year.
Yeah, I reckon he's been going for a good year now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been trying to find a gym which has a jacuzzi and the sauna and all that kind of thing. but they generally seem to be quite expensive, or they don't seem to get very good reviews.
David Lloyd's kind of thing.
Yeah, but they're expensive, and they can be like £80-90 a month, and then you have to commit to say 12 months, and then there might be a signing on fee as well. So
I could buy 2 graphics cards in that
exactly. You could do something sensible with it instead, that kind of money. But so the gym's been really good. I've enjoyed going back. But the jacuzzi and the sauna is often like the treat for going, really. And plus, it's really good for your muscles afterwards, and you feel better. You don't ache as much the following day. But I've been missing going to the gym, actually. But the gym I've actually found, it's only like 26 quid a month. Nice. I actually started off with a 3-day free pass. Because I've been and used the 3-day free pass, they sent me another message saying that I could have something like 30% off for the first 3 months, and also I've no signing on fee. So I think I'll do that for 3 months. And plus, there's no contract as well, because I don't mind going to a gym. But if I spend 90 quid a month to go to a gym, I'm going to nag myself mentally if I don't go to that gym 1 week, because that's too expensive not to go. And I'm only likely to go once every week. I mean, really, for 90 quid, you should be going 3 times a week, shouldn't you? You should be almost living there, really. It's like rent.
You're taking my showers there.
Yeah.
Saving my water bill.
Take your showers, charge all your phones up and all your devices there, etc. You should be getting your money's worth out.
They got car charging points that are included in free.
Well, that would be ideal, wouldn't it, if they did that? But yeah, too much. And the 12-month commitment as well breaks my heart as well. So no, I'm not going to pay that kind of money. But it's local. It's a really good gym. So yeah, I'm going to start going a bit more. But other than that, I've not done a great deal.
No. Yeah, I'm starting to get. It's spring here now. It feels like spring, even though like I was out yesterday and I was like, oh, this feels just like spring. And then suddenly I realized I was freezing cold and had to put my jacket and hat back on. But
spring here as well. It's
the snow is the snow is melting. It's been nice. The kids are playing outside, and I'm getting a hankering to now get back and do something, whether that's swimming or something like that. So I guess it's just.
I went for 2 walks this week on my week off.
Oh,
I did a 7.5 kilometre walk the other day. I was quite impressed.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
My legs are after that. It was nice. I just banged some podcast on my head in my headphones.
Yeah, just walk, right?
And then
just walk. I find when I
left
walk...
the hill to the end, which was probably a mistake. The uphill part. I was like, this probably should have done this downhill on the beginning rather than leaving the big uphill bit at the end.
Yeah, fair enough. I've got a couple of things on my list here. I have made a hi-fi purchase, so I've been jonesing for another amp. I wanted a power amp. I don't know whether I've talked about that before. So I've run basically I have my DJ setup, and I've been using like an old Denon receiver or whatever, which has been, which has done the job very nicely. It's been pretty much, at the top of its range. You're getting out of it the best you can probably get out of it. And I was like, you know what? I think I want a power amp, something that's really going to just have a bit of heft behind what I'm doing. And I've been looking for ages, and I finally saw this guy selling one up the road. And I went and picked it up. It's super interesting. I love going out and meeting these people. I knew before I went to see this guy he was going to be interesting. Turns out he was like he'd worked in a recording studio. He'd worked in studios all his life. He played me some of his remixes and stuff. Were really good. We talked about things, and it's really interesting as well. I'm finding now a lot of the time I talk to people, and as soon as I mention that I'm into DJing, and then as well that I'm from England, they're all like, "Oh, were you around when the rave scene kicked off?" And loads of people want to talk about it back in the 90s, right? It's really, really interesting.
Are they not? Were they not in the UK in the 90s?
Were they not in the UK in the 90s?
Were they like
what do you mean?
Canadian? Born and bred?
These are like I mean, like Canada's, all the cities have had healthy scenes, but not like sort of the birthplace of a lot of it. Like
what they needed was something like the poll tax to kick everything off.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So so anyway, I bought this power amp. I just went and bought it, and this thing is a beast, man. I think it weighs about 35 pounds. And it's just heft. It's
just a 2-channel, is it?
It's just 2-channel power amp, right? That is it. Job done. And then I just feed it the signal from my mixer. But I was playing around with it last night for a while. It's just a beast. It's unbelievable. It's got the gain meters at the back go up to 10, right? I've got them set at 3. I don't. I don't think it went to 11. I got it anyway. They got up to 10. I've got it set at 3, and I'm not even getting anywhere near pushing it to the max at 3. It's just a beast.
Your speakers can handle anything above 3.
Well, I don't know. I can't. I haven't even. I've got to test it out at some point this weekend. I've got to just let it rip and see how loud it is with the speakers. But it is nice. It sounds great. It's the sort of it's a pro amp. Right, it's the sort of thing that would easily power
4-foot subwoofer.
Whatever. I mean, they're the sort of power amps that were put in cinemas and things like that, or whatever. It's got, and it's got to be. I didn't think I looked at it. I didn't realize it was as old as it was. So it's probably a good 30-something years old. This thing, but
from
it's
those 90s heydays.
It's just built like a tank, but like I say, it's pro grade. Like I went through through the manual for it last night. It's so funny the difference, eh? This thing, when you get a manual right for a new piece of electronics now,
it's just a website usually.
Well, now it's usually a website, but it's usually written to say, "Do not ever consider opening this thing. You will die. Please, no liability. Don't touch it. Whatever." This thing, you get it. On the first one of the first pages, it's like, well, if you want to open it, here's the screws you need to open it up. And then it's like, it's got this transformer in it. This the size. It's got to be the size of, I don't know. It's like just this chunk. But they've got all the instructions there for rewrapping the wires on the transformer if you want to change the power supply, the power inputs, different voltages, and all this sort of. Like, it's just from a different world, right? Nice piece of kit. So I'm pleased with that. We'll give it a good workout, hopefully this weekend at some point. But that's nice. The killer system continues unabated. It's great. I just got to figure out what I need next. So that's cool.
Do you have neighbours that are attached to your property?
Both sides. Yeah, both sides.
Well, yeah. The bass, you can imagine. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. I'm like I am very respectful. Like I don't because like I can play it loud enough just to piss the people off in my own house, let alone in the next door. The good thing is I do have a basement, so it is reasonably protected. Reasonably.
I assume they have basements either side as well.
Yeah, they have basements other side, so they could, if I was to really crank it, they're going to hear it no matter what. Anyway, I'm a respectful neighbor. So
if anyone's listening.
Yeah. And the other thing I did was I rented out a DJ studio down in Toronto at the weekend on Sunday. Yeah, which I've always been sort of hovering over doing. So I woke up and I was like, I need to do something today. I need to get out of the house before I paint the walls red. So I just rented an hour down at this studio and headed down there. And the reason I wanted to rent the studio out was because I knew they had CDJ 3000s, which is like pretty much the most modern. They are the most modern CDJs that you can get, and I never tried them. And so I rented that out for an hour. I got in there. It's so funny. I turned up, and this guy, and I started talking. There's a guy in the studio already, and like obviously he's not going to get out until somebody comes and kicks him out. And it's my turn, right? So I knock on the door, and I had a chat with him. He's a nice guy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, so what you going to play?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to play hard techno." And he goes, "It's Sunday morning." I went, "Mate, it's always time for hard techno. What are you talking about?" Right? And I got in there, and like the whole point of the hour was to learn how to use these decks and like go through all the functions on them and see what they were all about. I tell you, man, once I got going on it, I didn't give a shit about the functions. I was just slamming it for an hour with the hardest of techno I could. It was great. Nice pieces of
massive
kit.
Sound, like wall of sound hitting you.
No. No, it wasn't that crazy. It was like even my now with my power amp, I could absolutely shit on what they had in terms of volume. But it was like, as far as I'm concerned, I don't even know how soundproofed it was or whatever. I didn't really give a shit. I'd rented it and I was just pounding it. It was great. Really nice pieces of kit. Those CDJs are $4,000 a pop. And I was like,
not on your list then, no?
They are on my list, but that list is very unlikely to get fulfilled. But yeah, I mean, for the nerds, I could go into details about why some of the stuff that I just fucking really nice pieces of kit. Yeah,
what makes them better than what you've got?
I've got more of CDJs that are more built for a home for the home. They're more for retail, not industry standard. So the workflow on them is a CDJ workflow. The quality's great. They sound great. They do the job perfect. And I have no real need to replace them. But then you get on something like these modern ones. I mean, they have full big displays on them. They're linked together. They're linked in with the mixer. They all talk to each other. I mean, it's really cool. One thing, like I was working on CDJ3. CDJ1 is playing whatever it's playing. CDJ3, I'm lining up. But even on CDJ3, it's showing me what's going on CDJ1. Like, it's all talking to each other and sharing the information. And
you have 3 CDJs, did you?
They had 3 of them, yeah. Yeah, it's just nice. Just, just fancy equipment. That whole setup with 3 CDJs and the mixer has got to be, you're pushing $20,000, right? Which is,
Fire it out for an hour at a time. So you make your money back.
Yeah, it was good. But then again, what do you, I don't know. I mean, I've got a setup that's fine. It was just nice to try it. Yeah, it didn't cost me much. $25 for the hour was nothing really. So probably cost me more in gas getting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was cool. And then the other thing I have on my list, just to crack on, which I never thought that I would be standing here in front of you guys and I would say this, but I've been watching Reacher on Amazon.
From the beginning or the most recent stuff?
No. So my wife I haven't seen much of my wife over the last few weeks, right? Because she's been busy with work. And I was like, we got to, I think she was off on Wednesday night or Tuesday night, whenever it was. Like, we have to just spend some time together. We have to. And so I thought, I'll manage this. I'll sit down. We'll find something that we can get into. And I thought, and I've seen her watching Reacher in the past. Have you ever watched Reacher, Paul?
Only a little bit of it. I think I watched the film with what's his face, Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
They did
I think this is a bit different.
Have you not watched it, Neil?
I haven't watched it. I've seen the guy in it. He looks more like the real Jack Reacher, as envisaged by the author, I believe. Because I think who's the guy that writes the books? Anyway, whoever it is, wasn't particularly happy about Tom Cruise playing Jack Reacher because it's like, he doesn't look anything like Jack Reacher. Jack Reacher's fucking massive.
Right. Yeah, well,
and this guy is fucking massive.
This guy is huge, and I know my wife's watched the first couple of seasons, and I've walked by osmosis on a lot of the stuff she watches. Every time I come up to get a cup of tea or whatever, or catch 5 or 10 minutes of these programs, over the course of series, you start to get a little bit. And I've seen Reacher, and every time, the first time I watched, I was like, "What is this bullshit? Right? This is crap she's watching." But every time I came up, Reacher was just kicking the shit out of people, and it started to. I was like, "This is quite amusing, actually." He beats the shit out of people all the time.
It's like late night 18.
Yeah, I'll admit it. I was wrong. I enjoyed it. So I'm in on season 3. That's where I've started because that's the season that's going now. But yeah, it's good, right? I think you take it tongue in cheek, but actually,
Arnie in the chat is a fan, apparently.
Reacher is he? Awesome. The writing's quite clever. I mean, I was impressed. I could pick fault in it if I wanted.
There's a lot of Reacher books. I don't know if they're anything similar to the TV show, like if they're. They've turned books into a TV show, or whether they're just, this is the guy from the books, and these are different stories for the TV show.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This could be a little bit of a guilty pleasure. I'm enjoying that one, so it's fun. It makes me laugh, big time.
Laugh.
Yeah, man. Just when he just kills this guy, like just killing people,
rip people's heads off or something like that.
Well, there's one guy, right, in the it's a sort of a spoiler, right? Sorry about this, but not really, depending on how I frame it. But there's this guy who he's quite a character, and you're like, okay, well, this guy's obviously a character, somebody who's got something to give to the show here or whatever, and then Reacher just kills him. And I don't even think killing him helped him at all. I don't know. I got to figure that one out. But anyway, I was just admire the fact that he just killed him. Right? It's just like out of the blue, killed him. It's great.
Well, Arnie's just put in quotes 2 lines. First line, "Call me an ambulance," in quotes. Second line, quotes, "You're an ambulance." That's the standard of humour, is it?
I don't know. I'm not sure what about that. I'll have to figure out what that reference is. But yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. So
I assume that's when he'd hurt somebody. I guess.
Maybe. I don't know. I only watched the first.
It's Lee Childs that writes the books.
That's the one.
Oh, okay, yeah. And I think I've seen Lee
There's
Childs,
loads
but
of them.
the Lee Childs name around on books in the house. Maybe I think maybe my wife must have read a bunch of Reacher stuff or whatever.
Is he
so
CIA
that's okay.
or something? Is that the deal? Can't remember now. Something like that.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, the guy is massive. He doesn't look like a normal human being, from what I've seen. His head looks far too small for his body, because his body is gigantic.
He keeps fronting this other big guy. There's a guy who's bigger than him.
What?
in this series, and you're just like, it's gotta, it's coming, the big fight. But
that's like Game of Thrones something.
Yeah, the two titans are going to meet at some point. So, so that's Reacher. All right, okay, let's move on. Where are we now time-wise? Yeah, let's move on to what we've been playing. I haven't put anything in.
Go on, you can go first.
I played a little bit more. I will go first, if challenge accepted. I played a little bit more Laura Lee.
Okay.
I'm stuck, Neil.
Uh-oh.
Have
you pet the dog enough?
I did pet the dog enough. Every time I walk through the courtyard, I pet the dog, and finally,
it's a good dog, isn't it? It's quite a nice looking dog.
My dog didn't like that.
I bet your dog doesn't like dogs.
No.
Is he not a fan of the pink collar?
It looks like him, actually. My dog has
a smaller version of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really.
Are you stuck on what you need to do next?
I don't know how to progress. I know there's things that I haven't solved, and I don't know how to solve them, and then I don't know how to progress. I'm also very aware that, if I just maybe come back with fresh eyes and look around, that I'll find something. Like, I do come back with fresh eyes, and then I do make
if you leave it too long, it's like, if you leave it too long, it's like, I can't remember where I was going next.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I feel like I've just got the whole place in my memory. I know where everything is. I just don't know, like...
I feel like there's... I just kept getting not lost, but like... It's a deceptively large space, I found. It's like... It's only in this, like, mansion. And there's like a door here, a door there, or a little alleyway that goes down there. But it's like... It's quite easy to just like... I know where I need to go. Where the fuck do I need to get? How do I need to get there? There are maps, but you need to unlock some things to find them. Maps. And I didn't really get that right till the end.
Did you go through anything to give you a little bit of a help through? I feel like
definitely a couple of times I felt like I had to, I'm really fucking hit a brick wall and I'm not quite sure what I need to do now. But because you can play it in pretty much any order, well, not quite in any order, but there's not like a linear progression. This is the way everyone plays the game path. You can completely go down one side of the house, whatever, do all the puzzles as far as you can do, and then go the other way. So not necessarily, but you could have gone the other way and done a load and then gone that way, sort of thing. So it's not like there's only one path. You could take different puzzle routes. So it's quite difficult to read up exactly what you need without seeing something you don't want to see, potentially.
Yeah.
I found. But I definitely did look up a couple of things. But you have to just be very specific about the puzzle you're asking for. And hopefully you don't see any spoilers for anything else.
Yeah. See, I'll tell you the one that's staring at me, and I don't know whether you remember it, but it's just past the reception on the left, and it's the astrological clock.
Oh, that really I left that didn't get done till quite near the end, that one for me.
Is it possible for me to do that now? Early
honestly
doors.
Can't remember. That was one of the last things I did. I know that.
Yeah, that one's bugging me.
So I kept going past that and looking at it going, maybe I do know how to do this, but I'm spending a lot of time fiddling around with the clock. But I can't remember what you need exactly, but I do know that was one of the last puzzles that I solved. So go and do something else.
Yeah, I'm loath to go look for answers. I don't mind that the shortcut puzzles are I don't
there
mind
was a couple of those that I definitely this is driving me nuts. I fucking thought about this for half an hour and I honestly don't know where I'm going.
Okay, so there's the shortcut puzzle. So there are these shortcut doors for anybody who hasn't played the game, and I almost don't recommend anyone ever plays this game, right? There's the shortcut doors and there's a puzzle book you have, and you have to solve the puzzle in in the puzzle book. It'll give you a number, and that's the number you use to unlock the door. These puzzles are fucking insane.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
Most of them are quite straightforward.
Oh, I don't know. Like one of the puzzles, I was looking at it for ages, and I deciphered a bunch of stuff out of it. But then it turned out, and I was like, I was banging my head against the brick wall. And then the answer was so obscure. I was like, I still, even though I know the answer, do not know how anyone would see that.
You know which one that was without giving the answer?
It's the one where you have a block of numbers, looks like a Sudoku puzzle with rectangles and black squares, or black squares and black triangles or something over some of the numbers. And then it gives you an equation of the black numbers and triangles. Something black square, triangle, square plus square, triangle minus triangle, square equals the number that you need. I
reckon I could just go on Discord with you and sort that one out.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to spend some time together.
There's a lot of those ones, I think. There was a handful of those that I was like, this is driving me mental, I can't work it out. But most of those SC Bolt puzzles, I was like, well, I know what that is. I know the answer. I just got to find the door. Like I'd look through the puzzle and gone, I know the puzzle. I understand that one. I can see the answer. I just need to find the right place to put that in. I think you're right. The LV one equals 135 or whatever. That one, I was like, I can't even remember if I solved it in the end or not. I just remember getting stuck on that one for fucking ages. Like, I didn't want to look up the answer because I was like, I've solved so many of these puzzles myself. I don't want to resort to looking up an answer. But that one, I feel like I had to in the end because it was just driving me absolutely mental. I was like, it's like Roman numerals, but obviously that's not the right answer.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't work.
Yeah, so anyway, I'll keep on with that. It's good. I don't think I could see myself firing up again this weekend, sitting there and just staring at it. Because it's on my living room upstairs, it's actually quite nice. You know, I can just put it on, potter around, put a puzzle up. Maybe I give, look at it, walk away, come back to it or whatever, take my time. So I'm not hot to trot on spoiling it. That's for sure.
That took me a long time. 20 odd hours that took me for what doesn't look like a particularly big game. But yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. It was a lot of walking backwards and forwards from one puzzle to another and getting stuck on this one. I'm like, I can't quite work out what's going on with this, and then go and do something else.
Yeah. And then going away and reading more and going back through the notes, and is there anything I missed? Something triggers something else.
It does, like I said before, it keeps loads of the stuff that you need in the game. It's just, I found it very helpful to there's definitely some things you have to use. What I found, some of it I could just see it in my head and go, yeah, I know that. But there's definitely sometimes I'm like, well, I'm definitely making a note of this and that, and like drawing pictures so that, because otherwise I'm never going to remember what this is.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll keep going on it. I'm not giving up. But that's pretty much.
You could solve. There's definitely things you find which are obviously important. I make a note of those and write key information. So when you get to that point, you're like, I've already solved this half solved this because I've written all this shit down. So I know when you find it in the game, you're like, this is what I needed that for, and I've already basically written it all down, and I know what I need. Because it becomes apparent when you find it in the point when you need it. You're like, that's relating to this thing that I've already written down. But it could be 3 or 4 hours later. So I just found it very helpful to keep writing shit down as you found it.
Yeah.
If it didn't make any sense.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'll keep on with that. And I haven't really played anything else except maybe a bit of Hunt, but not much of that really this week. It's been pretty busy.
No, I've not really played many games this week. Considering I've had a whole week off, I don't feel like I've played many games. I've only written 2 games down, and one of them is sort of related to what you've played because it's another puzzle game. Rise of the Golden Idol: The Sins of New Wells, which is a relatively small DLC for Rise of the Golden Idol, which I started last week and I finished last weekend. Because it's only about 3 hours probably to finish it, start to finish. There's only 4 scenarios, and it's the same deal. There's a scene animated slightly,
right,
with clues and things to click on. Find all the words.
Same old.
Put them all in the right place. There was a couple of times I definitely I did search things up, but I didn't like. It was quite good because the way I managed to do it was like there's a lot of stuff where you put in a lot of words in. So it was like I could just sort of scroll and go, "Yep, that's correct. I'll put that in there. I'll put that in there. I'll put that in there." And there was the ones at the end was like, right. I get to the point where it's like I'm all correct here, and there's like 3 left. I was like, so I know it's only these last 3 that I need to sort out, and that kind of thing. But I didn't look at the answers at the end bit, so I was quite fortunate in that like I'd get it to the point where I could sort of filter out the actual final bit that I needed. But I know that nail it down to like this is where I'm wrong. And I just need to get it right on my screen. But yeah, it's one of the characters is from the main game is like a police guy, and so he has these weird fucking crime scenes that you have to solve. Like I don't know, it's the same thing over and over again, effectively, but in different scenarios. And I enjoyed what I played of it because I've just enjoyed every single one of these so far. It only leaves me one other game, which I've played this week, other than Hunt Showdown, obviously.
Well, what about Paul? Has Paul got anything? But he must have. Old games.
Old games, really. I finally finished Red Dead Redemption 2. Took me about 54 hours. And I got to the point where I had actually finished the main story. And then it went into the epilogues. But there's actually 2 of them. So it's like another 6 or 7 hours after you've done the main story. You think this game is never going to end. And I've had that game since new. And it's taken me, I don't know how many years. Did it come out 2017 or 2018 or something like that?
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So it's taken me all them years to finish it, but I finally finished it, which I would never have actually finished if I'd been doing the Year of Shame challenge, because it would never have, it'd just been buried under another pile of new games.
And I reckon I played about 2 hours of that.
It's a really good game. The snow scene that you've got to go through, which takes about 6 or 7 hours, literally, before you get to like the main camp, is a real trudges. That definitely takes some doing. But once you get through that and the world becomes more open, you can get on your horse and go do whatever you want to go do, then yeah, it's a really good game.
We played loads of the online on that. So it's just the same, obviously, the same map. But me and Matt, my friend of the show, we played loads of that. Going around and like doing all of the fucking whatever it was, moonshining and bloody delivering stuff, and then trying to gank other players and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that was a pretty toxic online experience if you wanted it to be. Full of hackers as well, though.
Did you play it on PC or did you play it on
PlayStation? Yeah, we were playing PC, yeah.
PC, yeah. I mean, the problem with the PlayStation version, they've never even updated it. It's still 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
Which is pretty poor, really. I mean, even a PlayStation 4
So it's
Pro,
basically the PS4 game still.
It's totally the PS4 game. There's no difference. Obviously, they've done updates, which has mainly been bug fixes. But other than that, it's 30 frames per second. And it really, I mean, even if they charge people £10 to play the upgraded version, people would certainly pay it to play it in 4K at 60 frames per second, or, you know, some upscale version of 4K to get it there. Absolutely, yeah. Good game. Well worth playing.
It's a stunning environment. Like I remember, like even like the online on PC, you go up and stand up in the mountains or whatever, and you'd be like, "That looks mental. It looks well good."
And the control of all you've got over the character, it can be quite difficult if you. I don't know if you played it with controller or keyboard, but when you first play it, you put it. Or if you've not played it for a while, you put it back on. You get into that controller again. You can be all of a sudden pulling your gun out and shooting somebody. You know, you're running over to go help them, and then you've shot them dead. It's so easy to do. But yeah, quality game. And I went back to another couple of old ones, which is Crises 2, which was halfway through that, which is the remastered version. Really enjoyed that, showing its age a little bit, but the storyline is actually pretty good. And I'm on to Crises 3 now, about halfway through that as well, because I generally play games to the 50% point, or 1/3 point seems to be my favourite, and then a new game comes along.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's graphically quite good, and as
supposed
part
to
of
be.
the year, it is. It's actually all right.
That was like the benchmark, wasn't it? Crisis 3 for PCs and stuff for quite a long time. It feels like.
Well, Crisis 1 was the game, wasn't it? That used to be the phrase. But can it play Crisis? It's probably now that Wutong game. Can it play the you know, the that particular one. And we've been playing as a group. We've been playing Kena Bridge of Spirits. We're not playing it as you're not playing it multiplayer, but it's a game that we're all got in our collection from the Year of Shame challenge. So it's me, Ben, and Brian. We're all playing that one. And that's another game I wouldn't have gone back to neither. It's another game I've put about 2 hours in originally, but because I have a need to play it now, it's really good actually. I've put it on easy mode.
We played that. You played that, yeah, didn't you?
No, it's not.
You not?
Well,
you
I think I
started.
put
I feel like I definitely put a good
I,
bit of time into that, and then just went.
I don't think I put a good bit of time. I think I had heard that it was good. So people that I trust had said, "Yeah, this is good." So I was like, "Okay, I'll get it." I think I started and it was like, I wasn't in the mood. Like, I'm not going to say it. It's typical
for
me
Dark
now.
Soulsy combat wise.
Yeah, I don't really remember. I can't remember.
I feel like it was quite tough.
Anyway, Paul's obviously been playing it, so he can.
Well, on easy mode, it's reasonable. The bosses, you can generally sort of do them in like a couple of goes, which is what I'm aiming to do. Really, I'm in there for the adventure. I'm not in there to be beaten down 25 times by some end boss baddie. I want to just breeze by them really and just enjoy the rest of the game, which is obviously a problem with a lot of games. A lot of people don't get to actually see the full product.
Most people probably don't get to see the end.
A lot, yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially these Dark Souls sorts of games. I mean, some of them baddies. I mean, I enjoy Bloodborne, but the majority of them bad guys, I had to get the online help. I had to get someone in to come in and
I've not
beat
got
them
anywhere
for
in
me,
Bloodborne really. Bloodborne
Bloodborne
is just too hard for me. And Demon Souls, initially on PS3, was I didn't understand what was going on when I played Demon Souls on PS3. I was just like, this is the stupidest game I've ever played. Everything kills you instantly. And then the PS5 remake, I enjoyed it quite a bit, but then it just got really hard. And I was like, I can't be arsed with this. And I've played through all the other Dark Souls, all the Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and Elden Ring, obviously. But yeah, I couldn't get on with Demon Souls in the end.
I had to cheat on Elden Ring. I went on to eBay and I bought something like 10 million souls or something, and so I didn't use all the souls to begin with. What I would do, I'd make myself to be like 10 levels above where you should be for that particular area. But as you know, you can still very quickly get mobbed.
Yeah.
So even being 10 level above, it gives you a fighting chance. It didn't make it a walk in the park, but I enjoyed it more. If you could just do that in them games and say, look, you're only going to take a 70% damage hit, because then games are so vast, regardless of it being a difficult game.
Elden Ring's enormous. It's just enormous.
Yeah. And it's an
I still haven't
game
seen everything in that game, and I've put in like 300 hours.
Yeah, exactly. The game is fantastic. The graphics are fantastic. It even actually feels like what I've been looking for many years. It feels like a true adventure game. A true adventure game for sure. But other than that, I've not played much else.
Right on. Okay. Well, what else you got, Neil?
Well, the only other game I've played other than Hunt Showdown this week is Avowed, which I know you were a bit poo-pooing last week, even though you haven't played it. Well, you said you'd heard a lot of people saying it wasn't that good. Was that right?
I think I said it was mixed.
I don't know.
I think I'd heard some people who were saying they liked it, and I heard some people say it wasn't that great.
I'll go.
So I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
I am still enjoying it. I don't know. I've got basically nowhere in the game. I'm still in, like, there's this place, there's the tutorial area, and then you get to go to this paradise place. I'm still there. And like doing missions around the town and in the outskirts of the town. And that is, I don't know, like there's the map of that area, which is fairly expansive. And then you can zoom out to like this larger map. Like, that doesn't look like that much of this big map. I don't know how much of the big map is available to travel in, but there's a lot of space I've got to go in this game potentially, and I haven't got bored of it. I'm like, I've upgraded some of my weapons. What I did was, I was just mooching around in the sort of outside the town. I was just exploring with my guy, my fish-looking guy, not Garrick. Is it Garrick? No, the guy that played Garrick in Mass Effect. His name is James Kai in this game. There's another character called Garrick, which is why it's confusing. Anyway, he follows me around. What does always make me laugh is when you crouch to go into stealth mode, they make a little comment about unseen, unheard, or something like that. And when you look at them and you press like the button to uncrouch, they're literally the instant you get up, they get up, and you can crouch and get up and crouch and get up. They're just like, not for you. So no, just amuses me.
It's the little things, eh?
They're like instant.
It's like on Destiny when people used to go along and drop up and down in front of the person after they've beaten them. They called it teabagging or whatever.
Yeah. We're quite fond of a teabag in a Hunt Showdown.
I think that's the funniest thing I've seen in Hunt Showdown for as long as I can remember. I was watching some guy from the distance, and I was lining up to take the shot, and somebody else killed him and then ran over to him and teabagged him and then went on their way. That's great.
Yeah. Anyway, Avowed. In my travels, I've stumbled across this group of bad guys who were, just instantly kind of got into a scrap, me and my guy. And it was a bit of a tricky one. It was like, whoa, this is like a bit harder than most of the other fights I've had. And I was like, initially I went with the Ranger class, I think was what I picked initially. So I've obviously got a bow and arrow to start with. And then I found my initial first weapon I picked up was an axe when you're in the tutorial, which is your sort of starting weapon. For me, it was. I quite quickly and a shield. So I was running around with an axe and a shield, and my bow as backup, on my ranged weapon. And then, fairly quickly, I switched from the axe to a mace, which I was like, I like the way that just like wallops people and takes like does double damage. It's a little bit slower than the axe, but it was just like good thud when you hit people with a mace, and they was doing like twice as much damage for the same sort of quality of weapon. And then, I found it's like a rifle. It's called Arquebus or something like that. So it's like a musket effectively. So it's a two. It's like instead of the bow now I've got this big fucking musket thing, but it's incredibly accurate for a musket because it just like wherever you aim it actually hits. But it does fucking loads of damage. I've upgraded that to like double damage, whatever I got when I first got it. And instead of now, what I found was I chose armor that had less stamina penalty for me and stuff like that. Because you've got heavy armor, light armor, medium armor. So if you're heavier your armor, it takes more of your stamina off. And then all these other armors have got different buffs and stuff like that. There's loads of intricacies into like the armor and everything. This is all base level armor starting here, like level 1. It goes up to like there's like common, uncommon, rare. It's like tiered armor up to like the best, whatever. I don't know what they call it in this. Can't remember. And then I've got into this scrap, like I was going to say, and when I killed there was like a boss guy, and unbeknownst to me at the time, he was a bounty, which I then found out several hours after, which I've only literally done today, sort of thing. There was this bounty board in town, and he was a bounty. So he dropped, when I killed him, he dropped like this proof that I'd killed him, but he also dropped his weapon, which was a fiery dagger. So every time he stabbed things, it set things on fire. It was like, this is great. I was just going around stabbing. Didn't use much stamina because it was just a dagger. So I was like, things going on fire, causing like damage over time. I was like, oh, I'm loving this. So, and then I developed the technique of like not really using the block for the shield because I was just dodging all the time and used because my stamina penalty for movement was quite low. I could there's a dodge mechanic. So you can dodge right or left or back. If it's used the same as the jump button, but if you press forward and jump, you jump. But if you press back and jump, you do a dash backwards or a dash right or a dash left if you're strafing. So that became my combat technique. Is rather than blocking attacks, I was just like being nimble. I would like get in there, do a few stabs, jump out the way while they try to hit me, do a few dashes and dodges, a little bit wee, a little bit woo, and then I was like, I don't need my shield anymore because I'm doing dodging all the time. So then you've got like a magic book, grimoires, which like have magic spells in. So then I
think you mentioned those last week, didn't you?
Yeah, so I started going down the magic route, and I'm like, well, instead of like now holding the right mouse button to block, I like when I hold the right mouse button, I get a choice of 4 spells to cast, and I'm like fucking throwing fireballs at people and fucking electricity and like ice bombs and shit. And I'm like, I'm loving this. So there's magic wands. I don't know how to use a magic wand. I don't know about that. I think you have to probably be a bit more wizardy to use the wands, but they're in there. But I'm like, I just dismantle the wands and get the stuff to upgrade my awesome dagger. I found a fiery sword now. And one of the last things I did, I was like, oh, this could be an upgrade on my dagger. This probably does a bit more damage with the sword. It's all loot and quests and stuff, and I'm just really enjoying it. So I think Avowed's... And it looks great. It looks fucking great. The only problem I've had is it randomly crashing. It's not very common, and I'm not doing anything particularly intensive most of the time it crashes. I'll be like, I was in a menu just looking at my stuff, and I was like, and it just went crash. I was like, what the fuck happened there? That was weird. And then today I just had a massive fight. Blah, I killed loads of people, and we were just having a little chit chat afterwards, and it went, oh, something's crashed. I was like, well, that's weird. I don't know what made that happen, because it was probably in like if it was ever going to crash, I'd expect it to happen in a hugely intense moments of video game stuff with loads of stuff going on, and it just going nope. But this time it was just like nothing much going on. It just crashed. I was like, well, that was odd. It's not done it many times, maybe 3 or 4 times in the whole time I've played it. And it's not caused me an issue because it's quite good at when you have a big fight. After that fight, it usually saves and stuff like that. So I've not lost loads of progress or anything like that. So it's got good auto saves and stuff like that. So minor annoyance is the weird little crashes that happen, but they're not particularly common and they're completely random, it would seem. So otherwise, I'm really liking it.
Yeah, it's definitely a game I'd like to be playing is Avowed, but I can't play it because of the Year of Shame challenge. But I was watching on YouTube that they're going to highly speculating that they're going to release Oblivion again. Remastered
I saw something
version.
about that, yeah.
So obviously,
I never played that. Have you played that?
I played it on 360, I think, or PS3. I think it had
I just remember my main memory of Oblivion is watching other people play Oblivion, and the joke thing was that to traverse the map faster, you had to jump everywhere because it was slightly quicker than running or walking. If you jumped constantly, it was quicker. And I was just like, I was just watching people like jump. It was just like, this is the most dumb thing I've ever seen. But there we go. Yeah.
All right.
I couldn't get into Skyrim. I don't know how many times I've got Skyrim on probably every fucking platform going. But sum total of hours is probably the same amount of hours I've played Avowed in like 2 weeks or whatever. So
it's very good in VR. It's a real experience in VR. Yeah, really good in VR. But I'd already played the game kind of too much to want to play it again, in VR from the very beginning.
Right.
Good job. That's not on your part, Shane. Take a while.
Well, it is. I've got it on Steam. I haven't finished all of it, but I think I've played enough to not want to.
Yeah. You don't think that needs to go on there anyway?
No.
What games have you got lined up, Paul?
Well, more finishing Kena Bridge of Spirits, Crises 3, and I might play the new Final Fantasy, which is Rebirth. Which
have you done remake already? Have you?
Is that the original one?
7 remake and then Rebirth is the most recent thing.
Well, yes and no. I couldn't beat the last bandit for some reason. So I am probably 99% of the way through. So I probably should re-download it, which is about 120 gigs, just to play the last little bit. But I think I ended up watching the end on YouTube because you get to a point, don't you, where you just can't beat it. And all I'm going to get is a cutscene at the end in any case.
Bizarrely, I can remember back in the day, there were so many times I would play a game, hours and hours and hours, get to the final boss, unable to beat him, and then I would just sack it and just go, I've done enough anyway. And I never lost a minute's sleep over it. It was just like, okay, I didn't feel like I hadn't achieved. Yeah, I didn't feel like I'd let myself down. I had not achieved the final goal, but yeah, you've done enough, Paul. You can let that one.
I'm gonna
Neil.
I don't know if does it matter what you've done? Like, if when you play Rebirth, will it go look for your save for remake and go, oh, well, you haven't finished it, you can't play it?
It might give you some extras. Sometimes you get like a few extra bits and pieces when you start a new game. But I'm not sure if it does on that particular one. But Rebirth is really good, and that is one of the games that does take advantage of the
Did you play
PlayStation
7 back in the day, then?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, of course
again,
he did. All that talk about PlayStation back in the day.
Yeah, I think
I mean, that's
managed to do
PS1, is it, or PS2?
Yeah,
PS1,
or
yeah.
PSX technically.
Yeah, that was another game that just blew my mind when I saw it. I remember Matt was playing it. It was just insane.
Yeah, I'd managed to do the first disc, and then I don't think I got any further. I kind of finished the first because it came on 3 discs at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah,
the remake is only basically that part, is it? Is that just the first disc of the original? Is that right?
Yeah, I believe that's what they're doing. Yeah, they sort of draw it out so that each of them games that they're going to release is going to be disc 1, disc 2, and disc 3. So yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't think they're going to do. Are they doing a third one? And that's it. I think they're giving up on these because they take too long and cost too much money.
No, I'm sure they'll be doing another one. These will be humongous sellers.
I don't know if they are, though. Are they?
I'm not sure on the sales figures, but they keep pumping them out, and they do take years to make. And I imagine they will be doing the next one.
They've got to finish what they started, but other than that, they're not going to do Final Fantasy VIII remakes. I don't think is where it'll go.
No, I'm not sure. I think they might go back a little bit further. One of them that I haven't played that I've had a little bit of a go of is Final Fantasy. I think it's 5 or 6, and it's a little bit more magical in the respect of like the characters that are in there. It looks a little bit more RPG. But that one, I think if they went back and did that one, that would be a good one, rather than just doing like say 8 and then 9 and then do the others again.
Yeah, I don't know what I think 7 obviously was massively beloved, but I feel like I remember my brother playing one for felt like hundreds of hours. It was 5 or 6. It was just for ages on his PS1, and he was just on that for weeks and months on end. It felt like, but I never got into any of that. Never played Final Fantasy.
They either grip you or they don't, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the new ones are really more like Devil May Cry in the respect of the fighting.
What the most was in 15, 16 type? Or...
Yeah, you go around hacking and slashing, really. I always play them on easy mode, or enjoyable mode, as I prefer to call it. Because you put them on these hard modes, man, it just takes 5 times as long to do the same thing that you just wanted to get done in 10 minutes in any case. I'm in it for the story and the adventure rather than the difficulty.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Right on. Okay, look, I've got people at my door, so I think we're going to call that as a show, if you don't mind.
It's a good time.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Paul, for joining us. I hope you got something out of it.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah,
no problem at all.
We'll have you back next week.
Yeah, just let me know anytime you need a stand-in or whatever. Just give me a shout. I'm happy to have another go.
Nice.
Sounds good. All right. Okay.
Sure, it won't be long before one of the other two has dropped off.
One of the other two, yeah, we're the lame ones. All right. We got any? Who are the chatters? Any chatters?
We're just Arnie. Is this one of your friends? I can't see what it says. Is that CLL Son 1981? Earlier on?
Unless I don't know, it might be the missus.
Could see. It could be it. I can't see. Anyway, Mintsafe said hello early on, and Arnie, and the one I can't read because I've got dodgy eyes on my little tiny screen. Thank you for joining.
All right. Do we got an outro to do? I can't remember.
You just say go to sealpodcast.com for all of our stuff. What's the best place to find your stuff? I've got your YouTube page. Is that a good place? Because it's got links to a load of other stuff on the YouTube page.
Yeah, that'd be good. And there's a Facebook page as well, Year of Shame Challenge.
Year of Shame. Right, it's at MLGYOS on YouTube, it says. Yeah. Which is fairly easy. And the rest of it is, facebook.com/groups/Year of Shame. And then loads of other stuff. If you go to the YouTube page, there's all the links are definitely on there.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Okay. All right. Well, then, thank you very much for joining us, everyone. Until next week, then we'll catch you. We'll see you then. Thank you.
See you soon. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Ta.